All right, so I just got back from the mailboxes here at my apartment complex. And I looked at the mailman and I said to him, "Why is there no mail in my mailbox? It's been 2 weeks. I had my mail forwarded." And he just looks at me like I'm incompetent and says to me, "Is your name on your mailbox?" And I said, "No, because there's nothing to put my name on in there." And when I opened that mailbox this morning, there was the mail of 6 previous tenants here. And I asked him, "Why do you guys do that?" And he said, "You know what? You need to call somebody who cares because I don't care if you don't get your mail. It's not my responsibility to keep track of your mail." Then he turned around and pretended I wasn't there anymore. That is the perfect analogy for a society that's moved 100% away from any type of in person customer service. It is nearly impossible to talk to someone these days. In fact, I have several banks that I talk to and businesses that have absolutely no phone number. This morning when I went to go complain at the leasing office about how crappy this apartment is, there was no one there. I looked at the hours, I looked inside, and it never even bothered to open. Every time that I've complained about this awful apartment, I'm told to call a number, or actually, no, I'm told to either scan a QR code or get the app. And that to me is absolutely despicable. Because again, you're lowering the standard, the quality standard of human life to "you don't matter, just give us your money." Because every one of these businesses that doesn't have a human being to talk to over how do I put this? You can't talk to a human being by calling them because they will send you to a menu and eventually you'll get to leave a message or use the app. There's no in person representation. Have you ever tried to talk to someone at Amazon? Oh my gosh, I have screamed at the screen so many times while trying to figure out why something that I paid for, because in my opinion, until it arrives at your house, you don't own it. So you shouldn't have to pay for it until it's in your sweet, sweet hands. But no, pay first, get it later. All right, with that said, let's get into today's quick monologue. You don't work at Target, but you bag your own stuff. You don't work for the Postal Service, but you have to track your own lost mail. You don't work for McDonald's, but you have to take your own order, clean your own table, and pray the app doesn't crash. Modern life isn't just an unpaid internship energy. Congratulations, you now work for every company you shop at, and the only paycheck you're getting is trauma. That's pretty intense, ChatGPT. Sometimes when it creates this stuff, I believe it's going to be somewhat okay, and sometimes it's a little more spicy than I expected it for it to be. So, with that said, let's get into talking point number one. We thought self checkout was for speed. Nope. It's so corporations don't have to hire humans. You're the cashier now. No discount, no paycheck, no employee meal. Mess up, get judged by a robot voice. Oh my god. That takes me back so much to my working at Walmart days where you have to stand there and watch the self checkouts. And if you've ever worked in retail, the noises that those registers make all day long, including the phony greeting and farewell, it stays inside of your brain. Like I would wake up at night and I would hear the self checkout machines in my sleep. That's how terrible it is to work in a job for 6 to 8 hours every day, listening to the same contraption, watching people steal from that machine, and knowing full well that every self checkout in America is an employee that can work 24-hour shifts, never complains about how boring the work is, never complains about rude customers, and will never ask for a pay raise. Because in the last three cashiers that I've talked to, every one of them, somehow I trigger this response in them. People treat the people that are working the self checkouts as if they're invisible. I mean, I've had people who will tell me, cashiers will say that they will greet a customer or say goodbye to them, and the customer will try to walk right through them as if they weren't even there. But This is the bigger, better world that we live in because back in the 80s, and again, we're going to use the olden days as an example. Working in a grocery store used to be profitable. You could make a life by just working an ordinary job. In today's world, there's no such thing as making it in a bottom level job. In fact, yesterday I was reading that the medium the medium income to buy a house in Arizona right now is $120,000 a year. And I assure you, that's probably maybe 1 in 500 jobs that an ordinary prole can get. And for the vast majority of the proletariat, they will never break, I would say, one, how do I put this? I want to call them standard deviations of $5, right? So if you're making the minimum wage, which is 14.75 right now in Arizona, one standard deviation to me above minimum wage would be $5 additional. Now, most pros will never make it above one standard deviation above the minimum wage. And that's intentional. Corporations don't want to pay people for entry level jobs anything more than they have to. They already feel like the minimum wage is too much money. And in fact, when you drive through In and Out Burger, they have their hourly pay listed at 18.50 to start and like 21 for shift managers or something, just one level again above that. And that's it. You're going to be topped out there. What does that kind of money equal when it translates into what type of lifestyle you can afford on one standard deviation above the minimum wage? It's absolutely disgusting. And a lot of these jobs are public facing positions, and it's not good to be in that situation. Talking point number two: can't find your order? Track it yourself. Need help? Google it. Something went wrong? Restart your device. Oh, and leave a 5-star review for your own work. Oh my gosh. Those reviews, I swear to God, more and more businesses are asking you or telling you to leave them a survey and tell them how the customer service is. And then when they find out that their customer service sucks, they will delete the comment. In fact, I was just in the car with someone who said that they bought something from Amazon. It was open when they got it. And when they try to leave a comment for that particular vendor, because remember, Amazon's just a store. There's a lot of people that just bring their goods to Amazon to sell it there, but they don't actually go through Amazon. And the worst part is Amazon gets a cut of you using them as a storefront. But they will delete any negativity in their comment section. A lot of you complain in my comment section that YouTube will delete your comments if you leave something that the algorithm doesn't like. Let me assure you, it deletes my comments on my own videos when I respond to you guys too. And have you ever called FedEx to try to track an order? It is nearly impossible to talk to a human being when something goes wrong at FedEx. And it happens to me all the time. Any shipping company does not want to talk to people. It's just an AI voice that tells you to put in your tracking number, which I already know isn't going to give me the information that I want. And then it tells you no further information is available. I don't buy that. This low level of interaction with people really irks me because the money is there to do better and no one's interested. When something goes wrong with something that you buy, let's see, I bought quite a few really questionable printer label makers. And every time that I need to get help with setting this thing up because the instructions are in some language that I don't understand, I don't go to I don't call a number anymore. I go on YouTube, I put in that model number, and I look at unboxing videos. That's it. I look at an unboxing video on how to set it up because that's my only option. The last two sets of headphones that I bought that I needed to pair with my cell phone. I had to go on YouTube and look at how to do it because the instructions suck and there's no one to call. When this guy told me that when the post office guy told me I need to call the DMV in order to find out where my tags are because I should have gotten them 2 weeks ago, I was just like, who's going to answer the phone anymore? Any sort of government entity that you want to talk to in person is going to make it as difficult as humanly possible in order to talk to anyone. And again, the more people that they can discourage from using customer service, the better. I feel like customer service has become something that it was never meant to be. It's almost as if you're bothering them because you're requiring them to have people to help you with their products. All right, talking point number 3. Real people don't work here anymore, just apps and excuses. Try calling a customer service today. Yeah, you'll meet Brenda, the chatbot, who only knows 3 words. Sorry, I don't understand. The new customer service motto is good luck and hope for the best. Because you do, even when I call a repair place that I use pretty frequently, if I can't just not deal with the system altogether where I just request that they send me a replacement, all I can do is talk to that little chat robot thing that it keeps offering you links to helpful articles and you're just like, this isn't helpful. Either either offer me something that's helpful or don't even bother to put anything on there. Those little chatbot things in the corner of websites annoy the hell out of me, especially when you're not even asking them for help and they pop up and they want to try to talk to you. And I'm like yesterday when I was buying my couch, I kept having that little pop up thing that wanted to help me with my shopping. And I'm like, I don't need your help, you creepy little AI bot thing. And the worst part, and this is a lot of the way that they make these things, is they draw them up with a neutral expression, right? A neutral skin color or a skin color that you can't tell what it is. It's Smurf blue and it's looking at you with dead eyes and you're just kind of like, that's not a real person, that's something generated by AI to seem as aesthetically and neutral as humanly possible so that it doesn't scare you off. Can you imagine if a little devil popped out and said, hey, I'm here to help you with your customer service? You'd turn off the website, you'd close the window and run away. But this is the world that we live in. The calling of the 800 number and how do I put this? If you've ever worked in a call center like I have, it is a very hard job to do long term because when people call, the only reason why people call you when you're working in a call center is you're a human punching bag for that corporation. Most of the time, you can't even do anything. They want you to read the script, pretend to be happy, smile, and then read the outro. That's the way they design these. They're human AI bots. You're an NPC on an 800 number that doesn't know how to do anything, really doesn't understand what you're supposed to be doing. And one of the worst companies that did this to us is that when I first started working for Insight, they had just gotten a new client. And so they were transitioning from one service to another, and they kind of just threw us on the phones with very little understanding of the client or training. And I remember the first day because I didn't know what I was doing. My boss walked up to me and he knocked on my cubicle, on the side of my cubicle, and it's like, why aren't you working? And I'm like, because I'm not certain what you want me to do. It would take me around 6 months to figure out what they wanted me to do. And by then I got fired. That's what happened at that job. I cannot work on a phone. I don't know what kind of people are cut out to work on a phone, but I know that when I work on a phone, it's like they start a timer and it's going to be maybe a month or two, but the timer's ticking away on me. I can't, I don't like talking on the phone. I don't like dealing with people in general. I'm not good at sales or customer service or dealing with people, anything having to do with the telephone. I not going to be able to last long there. All right. So, my final talking point here is you're doing free labor so corporations can flex record profits. That sounds about right. I mean, it's not like the money isn't there. They laid off the workers, they automated everything, and now you, in your pajamas, are doing the labor for free. But the CEO is still getting a $50 million bonus every year because he made changes to make the corporation more efficient. Nowhere did I feel that more than when I started working for Allied. I got hired really quickly. That should always scare you when they don't really ask you many questions. If they're too eager to hire you, you should ask why the last person left. What was so terrible about this job that the guy before here left in a hurry? In fact, he left in such a hurry that he left his microwave popcorn and dishes in his desk. That's how abruptly he split. And they won't tell you that. And I think that's the double standard we have in our society. It's like they can ask for your references, but you're not allowed to ask for their references, especially in a crummy, low level, entry level job. Because you have to understand that these jobs are designed like a mill. They bring you in, you get burnt out, you say the wrong thing, you start getting customer complaints. Everyone that complains about a person who works in customer service, especially in retail, isn't going to last very long. When I worked at Walmart, they would have these people called secret shoppers who would come into the store, go around to all the employees and ask them for help finding something or ask them general questions about the store. Every single person that I worked with received a failing score because we were just not interested in any additional work, which is true of most people who are doing customer service. You get numb to the feeling of no one caring about the way that you feel. When customers walk up to you and mistreat you, or they ask you the same question every time you see that customer, and this was true when I worked there, you'd have a customer who would walk up to you and ask you, it's like, why is there no milk? Can you please check the back? And you're like, no, I'm not going to check the back. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you. And that's the other part of customer service is people don't want to do that job. And I think that over time, and not a lot of time, you develop a sort of bitter hatred towards the job. And you get to a point where everything about doing a certain job irritates you. And that's not just customer service jobs, that's every job that I've ever had in my entire life. You get to a point where the job irritates you to the nth degree. You don't want to do it. And yet you need money, so you have to do the thing that you don't want to do. I mean, we've all walked up to an employee at a restaurant or somewhere where you could tell just by looking at them that they didn't want to talk to you. In fact, the last 3 times that I've gone out to buy an iced tea or a coffee, 2 times it happened to me when I was at BlackRock, and then one time it happened to me at Dutch Bros, where the person walks up, takes your order, and they're supposed to ask you to sign and offer, they give you the opportunity to give them a tip. Well, I've had the experience where the person was in such a rotten mood that they just look at you, put the scanner in front of you, and then look away without saying a word to you. And you're just like, well, sorry, bro. I'm sorry you have to put the fries in the bag, little bro, but it's unfortunate. Many of us are going to have to do those jobs. And the worst part about it is that more senior level people in our society, people that had cozy jobs that are not going to be able to go back to those cozy jobs because that job no longer exists, they're going to find themselves putting the fries in the bag, realizing how terrible it really is to depend on tips or the generosity of people. And it's not sustainable in my opinion. There's no sales job out there in America right now either that's going to be sustainable. Eventually everyone gives up. That's the great thing about work. It's not just burnout. It's not about just hating your job. It's about just not wanting to show up anymore. We all get to a point where you don't want to do this job anymore. And it happens very quickly. And what allows you to stay longer is that workplace theater, that pretending that everything's okay, showing up to work at work with a big phony smile and thinking to yourself, I can do this one more day. But the reality was, you knew from day one when you took that job, when you were sitting in the interview pretending that you were excited about this job, that it wasn't going to be anything long term. And the great thing is that you lie to yourself about how great that job is, and the person doing the interview is doing the exact same thing. They're trying to trick you into taking a job that you don't actually want.